Lamar Jackson has to make sure, because we all know he's worth his money because he's box office. You walk through the turnstiles to see him. So I don't know what this debate was about whether or not he's worth his money. Of course he's worth his money. The question is, are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar Jackson?
No.
The answer is no. The
No.
answer is no. So I don't know what this debate was about whether or not he's worth his money. Of course he's worth his money.
I did not want to make this video. Word to Switch out, man. If you know, you know. I've been a big fan of Shannon Sharp since I was like 12 and the first ever Hard Knocks aired on NFL Network. And I respect Stephen A for what he's accomplished in sports media, but we gotta talk about this, bro. This don't come from a place of hate or from a lack of respect. But the same way I keep it 100 with one of my friends if they're in the wrong, that's the same thing I'm about to do in this video, because things are a little out of balance and we need to level it out. There's this weird thing that goes on in the Lamar Jackson discourse that's been kind of bothering me like a lot as of late. Lamar isn't often talked about as a top 3 quarterback, but he's held to the standard of a top 3 quarterback. Since this dude came in the league, he's been doubted and stepped on. They said he wasn't even a quarterback, and he eventually got a half-hearted apology. When you're done apologizing to him, bro, apologize to me for letting him fall to the Ravens. Now I gotta face the man twice a year.
Lamar with a heck of a game today.
And here's a light jab, but NFC teams, I do not want to hear it because he be cooking y'all squads every single chance he get. Nah, but for real, you gotta admit, bro, this is a crazy stat. He's always been polarizing despite being super chill and about as uncontroversial as a quarterback can be. Great leader, team player, hyper competitive, takes accountability, top flight franchise quarterback. But his existence kind of flies in the face of what a lot of people have believed, and instead of reevaluating those beliefs, they just reject all the evidence. Psychologists actually call this belief perseverance. It's a real thing. I'll link the article in the description if you're interested. But the recent coverage on First Take is the reason for this video. And while they're not the only show that I've seen downplay Lamar or kind of disrespect the man coming into the season, they're the only show that even after what he did this past week have refused to hold the L and instead have moved the goalposts. I'm gonna play you this clip after Lamar had 7 passes dropped, including multiple touchdowns that would have easily won the game a couple of weeks ago when the Ravens played against the Steelers. For added context, after this loss, the Ravens fell to 3-2 and we're sitting at 2nd place in the toughest division in football.
The question is, are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar Jackson?
No.
The answer is no. The
No.
answer is no. And here's the reason why. 5 years, $260 million. $135 million fully guaranteed. Overall guarantees escalating to about $185 million. They're 3-2. And even though you got those drops, at the end of the day, damn, if you don't turn the ball over, you win anyway. And this man has been turning the ball over, and that is not what they're paying him to do. So you got to come to Lamar. If they were just dropping passes, coach, that would be one thing.
But they're paying him to win. And Lamar is one of the best winners in this league. And his record will tell you that. And are we getting our money's worth from our offensive coordinator? That's one I'm going to look at, too, because it's not just going to be, as a coach, I automatically look at the coaching side of it. They should have won that game yesterday. If we hold on to maybe just one of those catches, you're going to win that game anyway, okay? Because you're going to play it different down at the end there.
But with that being said, Lamar Jackson has to play better. Todd Monken, he was supposed to open up this playbook, open up Lamar Jackson's skill set. This offense looks a lot like Greg Roman, heavy reliant on Mark Andrews and running the football.
It's frustrating because if you actually watch the game and didn't just glance like occasionally at the TV and then look at the box scores once the game was over, you would know that Lamar played well throughout the game. Even the Steelers fans in the comment section were annoyed by this coverage. It was so out of bounds that even they were forced to come to Lamar's defense. Then a couple weeks later, when Lamar plays just as well but the receivers catch the ball, Stephen A moves the goalposts.
We got to be real about this with Lamar Jackson. Every point you made is absolutely right, Shannon, but there's another nugget. Reality is he's been in the league. He's got one playoff victory. That one playoff victory was against Ryan Tannehill. So when we talk about Lamar Jackson, because of the level of greatness that you're talking about, because of the near perfect passer rating yesterday afternoon, because of the fact that he's got a league high 6 games this year with a completion percentage of 70% or better, they're 5-2. They could easily be 7-0. We get all of that. When you see the level of greatness, at some point when it really, really counts, and we know that means the playoffs, you got to be that dude then too.
Yes.
You can't do this during the regular season, still have to show up in the postseason when you're that great.
Now, to be clear, I agree that he needs to prove it in the playoffs. But if you believe that's the only thing he needs to prove, then how come 1 week earlier you said he wasn't worth his contract? All right, man, real quick before we jump back in, time for a word from today's sponsor, DraftKings. NFL fans, we in the heart of the season, but it goes quick, so get in on the action while you can. I partner with DraftKings Sportsbook, who's an official partner of the NFL, and they got a great offer to get new customers started. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up using my promo code FlemLo. And with same game parlays, you can combine multiple bets all from the same game for a chance at even bigger payouts. Meaning if you're not a person that's trying to follow every single game, you can use same game parlays and zoom in on one matchup. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. And once again, to the new customers, use promo code FlemLo. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code FlemLo, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Shout out to DraftKings once again for sponsoring today's video, and without further ado, it's time to jump back in. But if you believe that's the only thing he needs to prove, then how come 1 week earlier you said he wasn't worth his contract? But then don't have the same smoke for a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who's really good, don't get me wrong, but we saw what happened to him in the playoffs. Just 1 week before this segment, Lamar undressed the #1 defense in the league and beat them down 28-3. But they played against DTR, a backup rookie quarterback, so Lamar did what smart quarterbacks oftentimes do. You're playing against a backup who can't move the ball and is turning that thing over at a crazy high rate. You don't need to try to throw for 400 yards against the best defense in the league because they can't move the ball. All you need to do is play efficiently, don't turn it over, and your team will win the game. So he plays it safe, completes 79% of his passes, throws 2 touchdowns, and runs for another 2. No interceptions, though to be fair, he did fumble the ball twice and lost one of the fumbles. So he had 1 turnover in the game. Cool. They win the turnover differential by a mile and win the game. This is my issue with quarterbacks like Josh Allen. Week 1, Aaron Rodgers goes down first drive of the game. Just take care of the ball and your team is gonna win. But Josh forces hella passes, throws 3 interceptions, allows the Jets to hang around, and ends up losing the game. But just taking care of the ball and winning an easy game when you're facing a bad offense, that rarely gets praised. It does get criticized on the other side when you don't do it, but when you do it and win the game, all the context disappears, and all of a sudden the only thing that matters is the box score. Then they look at this and say, Lamar's not playing well. Bro, he is. This just wasn't a hero ball type of game. The segment where they said Lamar didn't deserve his contract was so damn flagrant. It was so disrespectful. If you watch the games, bro, not only was he not playing bad, no other QB who got paid recently has been called out to this level, except maybe Dak. But unlike Lamar, Dak gets this benefit on both sides. When Dak plays bad, they over-exaggerate how bad he played, but when he plays well, they over-exaggerate that too. PFF had Lamar ranked the #1 quarterback that week, and they can be hit or miss, but these grades have utility. For example, I love stats like turnover-worthy plays, because we all know that every interception is not created equal. They count on the box score the same, and the box score is the box score. But as a person who likes to know what is really going on, who's really putting the ball in danger more times than not, who's getting lucky with drop picks and who's getting unlucky with tip balls. But we get added context from the fact that they grade individual players. Like, watch the film and see how that player performed. So in that grade, things like drop passes don't count against you. It simply measures how well you executed your job on the offense. JT O'Sullivan's got a channel called the QB School. He too broke down the tape and said Lamar played really well. The only reason I had to go to these 2 sources in the first place is because I watched the damn game and was shocked with this segment. So I had to find some other sources to make sure I wasn't crazy. Because I'm like, okay, and this one is clear, bro. The team let him down. And that happens, okay? I'm sure there's times where he let the team down. But in that particular game, that was not at all the story. So the next week rolls around. He beats the Titans. Okay, crickets. But then the Detroit Lions come rolling into town. The Lions are on fire, and they a really good team. One that Stephen A himself crowned as the best in the NFC. So when a player that you said was not worth his his contract, faces the best team in the NFC and undresses them, embarrassed them, beat them down.
Well, they kicked our ass.
It's probably time for an apology on your very next show. But instead of an apology, we got two different things that highlight the issues in the Lamar Jackson discussion. First, he moved the goalposts.
Reality is he's been in the league. He's got one playoff victory. That one playoff victory was against Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, so now you're saying he has nothing to prove in the regular season. But a week ago, you questioned if he was even worth his contract, meaning he needed to prove to you that he was worth the same money that Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts make. Now, Jalen Hurts took his team to the Super Bowl, but Herbo just blew a 28-point lead in the playoffs, and not once on this show has his contract been questioned. For the record, bro, they're obviously both worth the money. The issue's not with Justin Herbert, it's the hypocrisy of it all, right? If Herbo's worth the money based on talent and stats, then why is Lamar being judged on a completely different criteria? He's the youngest MVP in NFL history, has a crazy high win percentage that I'm gonna have to put up on the screen. And are you telling me that you've watched Lamar Jackson play football and he's not an elite talent? Get the fuck out of here with that. Also, Lamar at least has the one playoff win, and he got it in his third year in the league. The same year of his career that Herbo smoked that lead. And don't you dare blame the defense who had 4 picks in the first half. Let's be fair, if Herbo threw 4 touchdowns in the first half and then they lost the game, you'd blame it on the defense. All he had to do was drive down one time in the second half and score one single touchdown and they win that game. Their scores in the first half were due to the turnovers and great field position. Thank the defense for that. But with the entire game script completely in his favor, any elite quarterback is expected to win that game. It's actually disrespectful to Herbert to hold him to a lower standard. And if you're doing that, then you're telling me that he's not an elite quarterback. Lamar haters, be real. If Lamar smoked a 28-point lead in the playoffs, would you ever stop talking about it? He would get dragged every day for the next 10 years. Not by a small Twitter group, but by the entire media. And you ain't even got to admit it, but you know that I'm right. But not only did Stephen A completely move the goalpost, not only did he not offer a sincere apology, this man went on First Take yesterday morning and tried to act like he never questioned Lamar at all.
Lamar Jackson has to make sure, because we all know he's worth his money because he's box office. You walk through the turnstiles to see him. So I don't know what this debate was about whether or not he's worth his money. Of course he's worth his money. The question is, are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar Jackson?
No.
The answer is no. The
No.
answer is no. So I don't know what this debate was about whether or not he's worth his money. Of course he's worth his money.
Now, if you follow this channel, bro, most of y'all know I respect Stephen A and got reverence for Unc. That's why I gotta make this video and hold him to the same standard that I'd hold anybody else. And that point is kind of the core idea of this video, but I'm gonna come back to it. I need to finish this other thought real quick. Since I respect Stephen A, I often watch his podcast interviews when he's on somebody else's show, and the dude is a pro. Bro, he's super engaging, super intelligent, super knowledgeable, and I always learn a lot. But while watching these podcasts, I've heard this man say on multiple occasions that he runs First Take. This is his show, he chooses who's on it, and no topic is greenlit without his okay. So basically that means that whole damn segment about Lamar not being worth his contract was either his idea or he was cool with it because he said it doesn't get through without his approval. Like old coaches used to say, you know what I'm saying? You either coaching it or allowing it to happen. That's what this is. So you can't just waltz back in the next week like,
I don't know what this debate was about whether or not he's worth his money. Of course he's worth his money.
bruh, it was you. Just hold the damn L, admit you was out of pocket, and everybody won't forgive you, but I will. Let's move on. There's not one single analyst I've ever seen on TV who didn't put their foot in their mouths at one point or another. There's not one single YouTuber who talks about this stuff who didn't put their foot in their mouth at one point or another. You're giving takes as part of the game. You're trying to come up with interesting topics. That one was so out of bounds. You should have had a whole segment dedicated to how wrong you was for even coming up with the topic in the first place, and I would have respected that. Now at the beginning I said Lamar isn't often brought up when the media discusses their top 3 to 5 quarterbacks, but is then held to a standard that's harsher than the guys that they actually put in their top 5. I think I know how this might have come to be, but first let me show you an example of what I mean. Last May, Unc responded to Ron Johnson on Twitter when Ron asked if people could name 10 quarterbacks better than Kirk Cousins. Unc said Brady, Burrow, Rodgers, Herbert, Mahomes, Stafford, Wilson, Watson, Allen, Murray, Sharon, Nikki, Lisa, Veronica, Karen, Vicky. Now, this was before the 2022 season, so cut him some slack on Wilson and Murray. We was living in a different world. But the point I'm trying to make is, where is Lamar? You named 10 quarterbacks and he did not come up. Now, again, this is on Twitter off the top of his head, so I don't want to judge him too harshly for that, but the point stands that when the media is naming these top quarterbacks, a lot of them are not putting Lamar up there. But when he plays bad, or sometimes when he doesn't even play bad or makes a critical mistake, he's judged harsher than these guys. Now, the question I ask is, how is that fair? Why can't we have a balanced conversation about this dude? And this week, feeling a little bit defensive, and I understand as a creator, man, sometimes you feel like this, but he came through with an answer. Here it is, man. Check it out.
Got to judge Lamar just like we would have Aaron Rodgers, just like we would have Patrick Mahomes, because that's the level of greatness that he's shown. He is an MVP. He won a unanimous MVP. In the history of the NFL, only 2 men can only say that. He and Tom Brady. So I'm not going to judge him like I judge Josh Allen. I'm not going to judge him like I judge Justin Herbert, because he's on a level and shown that he should be graded harsher.
So here he's saying he judges Lamar harsher than Josh Allen and harsher than Justin Herbert because Lamar is that elite. But when asked directly if he choose Lamar or Josh Allen, he put him in the same tier and then leaned Josh Allen.
So for me, it's close. I'm going to say 51-49%. With me, I would lean towards Josh, taking Josh. Lamar is a tremendous runner. Allen is not the type of runner, but I'm going to give Allen a slight edge at throwing the football. But I'm going to say Josh Allen. I think Josh has won 2 playoff games. Lamar has won 1. But they're very close. They're a lot closer than you think. But I would say Josh, because I just believe that he'll be able to hold up a little longer and a little better than Lamar over the long haul. But it's close. But if you told me, Shannon, you can't have Josh, you got to take Lamar, I wouldn't be disappointed.
To be fair, in a vacuum, that assessment is fine. I think it's totally fair. I have no issue with this choice, no issue with this reasoning whatsoever. But if they're this close and they're in the same tier, which I agree with, by the way, how would it be fair for Lamar to be judged harsher? It sounds to me like they should be judged the same. You can't lean Allen and never come back and say I've changed my opinion, but then say you judge Lamar harsher than Josh Allen, when the last time you was asked, you said Allen was a little better. It's about to change this week, but generally speaking, Lamar doesn't get that nice fluffy media coverage like a lot of other top quarterbacks, but then on the flip side is held to a higher standard than those guys. That is not fair, bro. And I'm a Bengals fan. I don't give a damn about the Ravens, but I'm also not blind. What are we doing? Cover that man fairly. If he's an elite quarterback, treat him like that all the time. Don't just treat him like he elite when he has a bad game. And 5 games into the season, when his team had a winning record, you out here trying to say that the man not worth his contract? Like, we cannot do that, bro. That is not it. Especially when you're not questioning no other quarterback that way. So earlier I said I respect Stephen A. and I have a level of reverence for Shannon Sharpe. That's why I had to kind of call him out and hold him to the same standards as everybody else. Yeah, okay. It's time to go back to that. So when I watched Stephen A. and Unc just eviscerate Lamar for his receivers dropping passes, because I viewed them a certain way, I knew I had to be careful. I knew I needed to hold them to the same standard as anyone else, but not overcompensate while trying to be fair. I think sometimes when you're dealing with people that you hold in high regard, in an attempt to be fair and hold them to the same standard, it's easy to go overboard and hold them to a higher standard, an unfair standard, an impossible standard. I think it's possible that as 2 black analysts, in an attempt to not coddle Lamar and give him unfair passes, they've accidentally crossed over into being so harsh that they was tearing the man down when he didn't even deserve it. I think that in initially trying to be fair, they've gone too far in the other direction, and that's still not balanced. Sometimes Lamar deserves it. Sometimes his footwork sloppy. He gets too loose with his ball handling, with his fakes, and starts to fumble. Sometimes his ball placement can suffer just like any other quarterback, and when he really plays bad, he deserves to be called out. But you can't say you hold Lamar to the same standard as a Patrick Mahomes when you never mention Lamar in the same tier with those guys. Because when you're doing that, you're not giving a balanced coverage of the game. A lot of people was upset about this, and I think that's all they're trying to say. And I'm not trying to attack these cats or say I'll stop supporting these cats or stop watching them or nothing like that, honestly, bro. But damn, y'all can do a better job of giving a balanced coverage when it comes to Lamar Jackson. That's all I got for today, man. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Other than that, man,